Well, we've got about a day and a half of testimony going in the Diddy trial, and things are taking a very dark turn, a golden turn in some cases. Some of the testimony out being from late yesterday and earlier today. Pretty shocking stuff. I mean, oh my God, it's hard to describe in ways that are family friendly, but I'm gonna do the best I can. Lots to update you on. Make sure you leave a like on this video if you haven't yet. Subscribe or follow down below. I'll be updating the case 1 to 2 times a day as we get more information, so you're not going to want to miss anything. This is some creepy, creepy stuff. So we have witness testimony out now, and one of the spicier claims, I suppose, that I'll share with you, the individual, a male escort, was being paid. This is testimony, so under penalty of law. Excuse me, if he's lying. I'm trying to think. One of the things that Diddy asked him to do was to treat her mouth like a urinal and fill it all the way up until she couldn't breathe anymore. Um, I am. I guess I'm just boring old, milk toast guy, but I had not heard of that as some sort of term of endearment. Male escort gives shocking testimony of the encounters with Diddy and his wife. Says he witnessed him pummeling her. Now, to be fair, I don't think he's on trial for that. I think what the prosecution's going to try and do is basically shock the jury with how aggressive he was with this woman. But again, that's not what he's on trial for. They showed the brutal video from the hotel where Diddy is tossing her around like a rag doll. Again, that isn't really relevant to the case. I think they're just trying to establish that Diddy is a bad guy. Diddy's trial escalated on Monday afternoon as Daniel Phillip, a 41-year-old male escort, was called to the witness stand. And an extremely specific testimony that lasted about an hour. Phillips was questioned by lead prosecutor Maureen Comey about his encounters with Combs and then girlfriend Cassie Ventura, by the way, who is set to testify later, I believe, later today or tomorrow, from 2012 to 2014. According to him, he was paid between $700 and $6,000 on several occasions to lay with Diddy's wife. What's up with that? Like, what's up with this cuckoldry in the rap community? I don't know if Kanye said it to be shocking, but we have Kanye. Now we have Diddy apparently paying this guy between $700 and $6,000 on several occasions to pleasure his wife while Combs watched and enjoyed the view himself. On more than one occasion, he witnessed Combs tossing her around. In one instance, he was given MDMA, big deal. I'm sure he took it willingly. Phillips was first pulled into his orbit when he was working as the manager of a male review show in Manhattan in 2012. One night, his boss asked if he could go to the Gramercy Park Hotel for a bachelorette party because none of his dancers were available. Philip believed he would arrive at the hotel and perform a dance for the women. Instead, Cassie Ventura opened the door to her hotel room and asked if he was okay engaging with just her. Ventura, who is expected to testify later this week, has accused Diddy of feeding her drugs and forcing her to hook up with male escorts. She's also accused him of, putting his hands on her. As Phillips remembers it, Ventura was already dressed for the occasion in high heels and sunglasses and told him it was her birthday and her husband arranged a special gift for her. She immediately handed him a few $1,000s. Combs was already in the room. Ventura asked Phillip to rub baby oil on her, and she assured him that Combs wasn't gay and wouldn't touch him. Phillips did not immediately recognize Combs as he was clad in a white robe with a bandana covering his face from the nose down. As Phillip and Ventura, hooked up, Combs sat in a chair in the corner of the room. The chair! He was in the cuck chair. At one point, Phillips realized who the man was when Combs spoke, and he recognized his voice. A short time after, Ventura handed Philip another few $1,000s in cash and sent him on his way. She took his phone number. A few minutes after he left the hotel, Phillips received a text message from her asking him to send her pictures of his junk and to come back to the room. What? He's back to work? He obliged. For another few hours, they rubbed baby oil on each other and hooked up even more as Combs enjoyed from his cuck chair. Phillips would continue to engage in the relationships with Combs and told at hotels across Manhattan and their private residence. Phillips would send Ventura vulgar texts like, "I want to hook up right now." And sometimes he would text to ask if she was good. He cannot recall Ventura ever responding to said texts. Phillips said each time he met with them, there were candles and bottles of baby oil and Astroglide on the table. On one occasion, Combs directed Phillips and Ventura through a role play. We were not very good at that. Combs would often tell Phillips and Ventura to put more baby oil on each other, and he would instruct Phillips where to make his deposit. Phillips and Combs said yet on that occasion, Combs would switch places with him to engage in hooking up with Ventura. On occasion, Ventura would ask him, Cassie would ask him to give her a golden shower, and they, what is going on? Good gravy. On several occasions, Ventura would ask him to give her a golden shower. Phillips, I'm not going to explain what that is if you don't know. Phillips said after these encounters will last anywhere from 1 to 10 hours. After he would hook up with her, she would go into the bedroom with Combs and leave him waiting on the couch for hours. Sometimes they would come back and tell him to leave. Other times they would bring him back into the bedroom for another round. I mean, impressive stamina, sir. Phillips said Combs videotaped them hooking up on a cell phone and a camcorder. One time, Phillips pretended to finish after Combs instructed him to, well, I'm not going to go into that. After Combs had brought Ventura into the bedroom, she repeatedly questioned if she was sure. He repeatedly questioned Philip if he was sure he finished. So he faked it. He told this escort to, impregnate his wife. I don't know what is going on. The reactions became more intense after Combs took photographs of Philip's driver's license and said it was just for insurance, just in case. I understood it to be that he was threatening me. Phillips said that Combs' attorney, Xavier Donaldson, yelled objection repeatedly. Many of the objections were overruled by the judge, but Phillips was sometimes reined in as he began to speculate. In one instance, Combs allegedly offered Phillips MDMA or Molly, which made Philip feel physically sick and nauseous, but also euphoric. Philip left that night with a wad of cash, still under the influence, began roaming the city, went to the middle of Times Square and handed out every single dollar he gave me. He didn't care about money. Ventura and Combs gave him. He said it was exciting to be around famous people. I never asked him for a single dollar. At a certain point, Philip said he began witnessing Combs, pushing his girl around. One time he saw her throw a glass bottle at her, drag her by her hair, all this kind of stuff. Again, he's not on trial for this stuff. All sorts of stuff. Apparently, he used to smack her around. I'm not surprised. He said, "Are you okay?" She insisted she was okay. The two of them began hooking up anyway, and Philip did not have any trouble performing. Great. I was curious about that. They noticed Combs sneaking back into the room to watch. One time at Ventura's home, Combs had invited another male worker who ended up getting in a verbal altercation with Combs after he accused him of looking at him during a threesome. What is happening? Phillips was never paid for hookups before Combs, and Ventura had never been paid for it since. I don't believe that. When asked why he continued to meet up with them, he said he considered Ventura a friend and wanted to check up on her. Plus, he feared that if he aggravated Combs, he might be in danger. Oh, that's very convenient. That sounds awfully convenient for a guy who was getting paid to plow some chick. This is wild. Again, him witnessing him smacking her around doesn't really matter. This one says he would fling her around like a rag doll. Obviously, we knew that. Uh, where is this one? There was one about him having to use her mouth as a urinal. I feel like I read that somewhere. If I'm misremembering that, I could be wrong. Um, but I'm trying to say, they paid for the hookups. Cassie had a purple eye. Hotel security says Combs offered him cash to stay quiet about, pummeling his girlfriend. Yeah, sure. Yeah, so there's nothing in here about that, but I thought I read somewhere. But anyway, he paid thousands of dollars. Again, so what? That's not illegal. Actually, that is illegal, but it's not really a racketeering charge, And as of right now, Cassie Ventura is testifying in the trial. She's on the stand, and one of his accusers is testifying now in federal criminal court. She said that some of the arguments will get aggressive and result in some sort of physical actions. They showed the video. But again, the charges, I keep reminding, this is why I think he's not going to get charged. They're just going to destroy his career. He's not going to get found guilty because none of this stuff has to do with his, like he's having charges of racketeering, trafficking, and prostitution. Okay, fine. Well, the prostitution thing seems like more set in stone, but I mean, are you going to put him in jail for years and years just for hiring prostitutes? I mean, that's not what the standard is, right? Ventura says she moved to LA to be closer to Combs because she was in love. She says she thought that she and Combs were in a monogamous relationship. Yes, he was controlling, but again, none of this stuff is what he's actually being charged with. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting to see if any, testimony from today. You see Diddy saw shocking witness testimony from a male dancer. We talked about that. He's also reading the Bible while he's, it's being told that while this testimony is going on, he's just sitting there reading the Bible. I'm not sure why he would be doing that other than optics. If I was on the jury, I'd probably see exactly what that was. And I would say, I think, now this is going to be in my search here. Yeah, Cassie was allegedly, in her mouth by force. Again, and he's reading the Holy Bible in court, which is ironic. Make sure you keep it locked here. When we get all the details from today's testimony, I will put that together in a video. Make sure you leave a like or subscribe on this. We're anxiously awaiting any kind of A-list Hollywood celebrity names coming up now, because I do feel like a lot of people in Hollywood are going to be implicated in this. So we're just going to have to wait and see. It's only been basically 24 hours. So, R. Kelly too. What's going on with these people in the golden showers? I don't understand that. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.